unless you don't want to play by the rules. Accommodation and environmental conditions. There are specific things you need to provide as a laboratory: smoke detectors, fire extinguishers. You must provide them and ensure AC. You must have record of servicing them. You don't have an AC that is there, it's not even working. There for decoration. Do you have AC? Yes. But meanwhile, it's not working. So you must have record with dates of servicing. Fire extinguishers, fire hydrants. You must have a must. You must do what you call fire drill once in a while. Policy. Say, look, 6 months, the safety officer, everybody must go down. Practice what normally you when there is a ray fire. That's what fire drill. You have the record, put in the fire. It's a requirement. They find this thing in means you are living, not waiting until an assessment. Equipment, you have general requirements, stage, procedure for selection and management of equipment. How come you are purchasing that equipment? How did you arrive at that? Do you really need equipment? Who installed? By a qualified biomedical engineer, licensed to do that or certified to do that? Validated. Has it been issues? Difference between validation and verification. So validation can be done by an external body. It can also be done within the organization. But after the validation, there is a validation certificate. You must verify the requirements or the claim by this external body. So that is verification before use. Equipment instruction for use. A lot of laboratories up to today still think that the product insert is the SOP. The product insert you have in the product is not the SOP. It's a material for you to develop SOP. You need such materials to put together and develop your SOP. The SOP of lab shouldn't be exactly the same SOP of lab B. The other speaker depends on the ability. It is a crime. Getting wrong results. And there must be metrological traceability. Where the government comes in. Metrology. Use of reference material. Equipment maintenance. System in place for maintaining your equipment. Preventive maintenance and routine maintenance. You must have an equipment maintenance program. You don't say any day you remember, oh, this equipment I'm maintaining for some. If there must be a program when to maintain your equipment, and you must follow those. That is QMS you are doing. Am I communicating? And the date the other equipment was maintained there, or have it written somewhere, so that when an assessor comes, you see this equipment was maintained on this particular date. It will be due on this particular date. Am I communicating? The same thing with reagents. Documented procedure for reception, storage. The same thing you do to reagents, you do to equipment. Just about the same. Now let's, like the standards I've showed you earlier, just picture of those standards. The first one is 17011 for accreditation bodies that we purchased. You can see that is a receipt there from ISO direct in Geneva. You can see issued in the name of Emerging Accreditation Service. You can see the order number and the date of order. So if you go online and you put that number there in the ISO website, our name there will jump out because it was given to us. So anybody that goes now to photocopy this thing, you are just wasting your time. As an assessor, you will come, they will know that this standard is not your own. That is the first thing. assessor will look at. Am I communicating? So that's why I said you need to purchase yours. Now, I told you we'll have a knowledge transfer unit under the Emergency Acquisition Service. We do a lot of training, just like we are doing now. We have a full unit responsible for that. Recently, we just did a training. It's a sample of a certificate issued. At the end of that training, you can see I signed there and the registrar signed there. Particular intentional about making this training to colleagues across the nation, because if you don't have this foundation, you can't talk about accreditation. Recently, there was a summit in South Africa the registrar attended, where they developed a framework for quality management system. It was spearheaded by ASLM and African CDC, where all African nations compelled to begin attention to quality management system, because we are losing it. People, the basic, we don't have a culture of quality management system. I told you in Nigeria, 3 different levels of laboratory health care: the tertiary level, the secondary level, and the primary level. But today, somebody have my goes to teaching hospital. Why? High level, but rather then maybe at the secondary level you do some other things. Then at tertiary level it should be referral. So the cases that are supposed to be at primary level are not referred. So the teaching hospitals are over. I pity my friend, Dr. You discover that a lot of them, they get tired of seeing patients. They ordinarily, as a consumer, they shouldn't be seeing 5 patients in a day. They are referrals. But you see cases of malaria in teaching hospitals. It shouldn't be the case. But those days, you find these cases at the primary level. Today, because we are not paying attention to those levels of care, you see a lot of persons. Teaching hospital is like a market. It's exactly where the government comes in again to pay attention to the primary level of care, ensure the right personnel are there, the right equipment to take care of people at that level, so that they don't need to migrate to the center. We shouldn't have the number of teaching hospitals we have. We are even opening more. Meanwhile, the ones we have, we are not maintaining, but we are opening more. So it's supposed to be a referral for handling cases that you can at this other lower level of care. Am I communicating? We are now, these are some of the pictures we took when we are doing assessments or doing trainings. You can see the Navy reference laboratory. Then you can see certificates accreditation service to a private laboratory in Owerri, the Link Medical Laboratory. And that's the registrar giving certificate of accreditation to Lightbridge Laboratory in Abuja. This is an independent advisory committee meeting going on. You can see the Professor Tomori sitting there as the chairman on the left-hand side, myself, the registrar, Professor Abolaho, and everybody in that committee. You can see by the one on the right, you see the Technical Committee on Accreditation headed by a very renowned medical laboratory scientist, Mr. Manasseh Obainu is the chairman. You have Emmanuel Ojo, you have my registrar, you can see A.K. Ofuche, and the rest of them, Technical Committee on Accreditation. Thank you very much. So we are there to entertain questions. We take them down and answer at the same time. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Please give him welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, me, I'm having a good time. I'm learning, and I am just archiving it. I have a program.
Okay.
Forget that everything is in my brain. Okay, so before we go into the panelist discussion, I just want everybody, TJ, give me some. Let's shake our body. Everybody stand up. I know this AC is really serious because let's start. Stretch your body, stretch your body, stretch your hand, you know, stretch your hand. Okay, shoulder, like movement. Should we follow the next step? I don't know how to dance. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Left, right. Now, left, right, left. Okay, your hands on your shoulder. Shake it off, shake it off, shake it off. Shake it off. Forward movement. Okay, backward movement, backward movement. Okay, your hand across, across. The other one. Do the other one. Stretch it forward. Just try to get, walk the fold out of your body. Walk it out. Walk it out. Okay, we can have a thank you. Okay, I'm going to be. She will be for the Juliet Okoli. Please, round of applause for my colleague.
Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very sure that today has been a very wonderful day. We've had so many discussions about all. I hope you see me. I can climb. All right. Okay, so yeah, during the DG's presentation, this
I'll just hold it. Okay, cool. Just hold it. Yeah,
so it was talking about, it was breaking down the clauses in the ISO 15189, and organization requirement is there, management, leadership, quality policy and all that, and ISN, you know, if we are not ISO certified, we won't be preaching quality. Yeah, we won't be preaching quality because we understand the importance of quality, of standard, of requirement. We are here to serve you. And, quality is very, very important. And the life of the patient we serve. ISN Product Nigeria Limited runs a quality management system which provides for measuring and improving our performance. Supplier of medical and music products, we can all agree to that. Yeah. Yes. We are providing best in class meet, and it's our Bible. We live it, we eat it, and quality cannot be spelled without you. So you, me, everyone here is all about quality, and if you remove that letter U, it will be complete. Yeah, so we'll go right into the session. We have our panelists. They are experienced quality management specialists or professionals, let me say that. Friday, we became a ISN Medical Lab Scientist of the Year Award 2021, and the Medical Lab Scientist is a team lead biomedical engineering, biomedical instrumentation unit in South Africa. Please let's welcome him to the stage. Thank you. And he's also an excellent writer. He's a freelance writer also. So if you need any content for him, big brains. Thank you. Yeah, so we want to welcome Dr. Kuti. Dr. Kuti is the Chief Medical Officer, SIN Lab Nigeria. with a distinct quality management mindset developed over years of involvement in the use of the standard for purposes of establishing and managing quality management. Please,
Yeah. Yeah.
so we want to also welcome Mr. James Ocheko. I know most of us know him as AE. Mr. James AE, yeah. He's the Quality Assurance Manager for Evercare Hospital, Lekki. He has 14 years of laboratory quality management. He was actually my former boss. So everything that I learned about quality management, yeah, so he's so vast in laboratory quality management, system and quality control, monitoring systems and designs, and he was in charge of getting the accreditation for PAC in Nigeria, now called SynLab. And so, if you want to mention the story of SynLab or PAC getting ISO accredited, that is the man you're seeing there. So please, welcome Mr. James. And I want to welcome Mr. Benga Kayode. He's the laboratory manager, ABC Medical Foundation, laboratory scientist, Calabar, and he's also in charge of obtaining their ISO 15189 for ABC. Welcome you.
So yes.
This is how it's going to go. To be more or less like an interactive section, we'll ask questions, then we'll answer them. Then, if we know we have other questions, so we can just pen it down, then we'll discuss better. So I'll just start with Friday, as I called you first. So many healthcare professionals wonder, why can't we just do things as we deem right? Why must we invest in QMS? Why?
Let me just give you this mic here.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. QMS is a very important aspect of medical laboratory science practice. One thing that scares a lot of people is most organizations, they say the cost of investing on QMS. Meeting this ISO standard means that your organization has the and the management system requirements to ensure that you consist technically valid and not just results that are valid, results that are precisely accurate, that can be used for diagnostics purpose. So quality, again, some people say, what do I gain by investing in quality? If we look at what was suggested by Ahmad, he said he split up before. There's what we call the prevention cost, the appraisal cost, the internal failure cost, and the external failure cost. So when you look at all these costs, you know that generally it is accepted that the cost of prevention to when you have to fix an issue. So many people think, why do I have to invest in quality? Number one, it's saving you cost in the long run. It's saving cost in the long run because when an issue, especially when the issue has gotten to the client, it will cost you more to take care of the issue than investing in quality to be able to give out results that are accurate and valid for patient diagnosis. So even the team came out with the findings as companies that invested in ISO, they have a higher driver. If you can bring that to the Nigerian setting and look at all the companies that have invested in ISO, companies that are ISO certified, you see that they're actually doing well. And then they have higher patronage, and then there's less wastage and they have increased employment, and then you discover it's based on quality in your system. Thank you very much.
So, just to add to what he has beautifully said, so I think one way to look at it is to look at costs related to quality and talk of costs of obtaining quality and cost of not having quality. The cost of obtaining quality, that's what a lot of us tend to focus on. Oh, I'm going to get accreditation, I'm Abuja, I'm going to pay for all this, I'm going to get all this. But the cost of non-conformance, I think, was very well illustrated by the case that the Niners did. Huge costs of non-conformance. So why should we invest in quality? Because we want to avoid stories like that. I think that's a good message.
Thank you very much. Case in point, has a personal story, cost of poverty. I'm sure you've heard one story from your friends, even your sister, your brother, how one wrong result has led to either death or probably amputating somebody's leg, or even opening somebody up, doing a surgery even without even planning. So it is very, very important we understand these languages very well. Yeah, so to Mr. Benga, ISO 15189 is rapidly emerging as a true global standard for quality in medical laboratories, yet this standard continues to inspire confusion and debate over its meanings and requirements. And is generally they struggle over implementation of this standard. Can you help us? We know we've been breaking it down since the beginning of this section summit, but can you just give us like more tips to help us break this down, simplify it? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will start from the fact that you said this and it over it. So why confusion, if I'm to ask? Or because the knowledge gap is there. So many persons, they don't even have the knowledge of QMS. They hear about, so many persons hear about QMS quite all right. But once they hear about it, QMS is too bulky, it's ambiguous to us, we cannot achieve it, without even ready to learn about it. Once they learn it, you will know your way around. But if you are in the dark, you just be beating around the bush, you will not even know how to go about it. So, knowledge is very, very important. And like what we have here now, we are learning about QMS. I know so many persons that have heard about it. QMS is concerned. There are lots to it. Each element of QMS. So once we are ready to learn that, we want to debate, we debate about it that okay, this one is this one is that. Coming to how to break it down for us to simplify it. Before now, I've been seeing it as 12 elements. Today, they just broke it down for us. There's not even 12 elements. Management requirements and technical requirements. So the management, you should know what to do. Okay, this is what is expected of us. Management angle of it. No, management should not leave it to the technical that is meant for them. I can remember when we wanted to get our ISO accreditation, so we thought we were doing the best. There's no need for us to do accreditation. My facility, we had the opportunity because of the founder, the status of the founder. So we have a lot of people overseas coming around to do the assessment and things like that. And by the time they go outside there and they are coming back, they are giving reports that most of your result is very good. When I went to Canada, the exact thing you people gave me. So we thought we are this all until we put in for KMS. The first assessment, how did they do for us? That was when we knew that we have a very long way to go. It's not only about us. Although from the technical aspect of it, we were having, from our equipment, we had 5-star from the equipment alone, because ISN they really put us on the stand as far as that aspect is concerned. But from the management angle of it, they were lacking behind. Until when we got to the entire system, and they knew that okay, they too they had to sit up expectations, what is expected of them, and from there we were able to achieve that. So from the aspect of, to break it down, management and the technical aspect of it, the two sides, once they handle their part, their responsibility well, the rest is simple.
Thank you. Mr. James, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, thank you very much for that insight. The only contribution I want to make is one you said is the ISO 15189 standard is a rapidly emerging. I think it has been in existence from all the presentations we've had today for more than 20 years now. I think we are just waking up to that realization in this part of the world. We've been sleeping on things that are important. But good enough is better to to rather start late than never. If you look at the Jamshire et al. Presentation they had in 2009, that was what brought about the WHO managed 5-star tier system. You find that over 95% of accredited laboratories at that time were from the southern part of Africa, where they have come to appreciate the standard first within Africa, and that was where the WHO felt like, let's help the should I say, technically, should I say, disadvantaged states like African countries, because we're really, really lacking behind. So the 5-star tier system was actually to help people up to 95% or greater, where you can apply formally for ISO. It's actually a technical document enshrouded in a legal matrix. So sometimes you might need somebody to mentor you. I see sometimes on our phone, it comes out with terms and conditions. We just accept all. How many of us take the pain to read or to through those things? We just accept and proceed. But by the time you get to ISO, you can't just click and proceed. When it comes to the time of which you really reflect that you are deficient. So you need somebody to guide us. We had the privilege of actually partnering. Permit me to say, most of this development was not really developed, so we had to depend on external sources. And for now that this is coming into the system, I think we can really build on the foundation and arrive at where we intend to be. Thank you
very much. Moving on, Dr. Kuti, to ensure and review criteria established and personnel in the after review would ensure that results are reported accurately and clearly before release.
Could you say the question again, please?
So I said to ensure the quality of results, there are procedures and review criteria that should be established and carried out by authorized personnel in the laboratory. After review, what methods would ensure that results are reported and clearly before release?
All right, so we're talking about the post-examination phase now. All right, so interesting, when the begin, he talked about events after the examination phase. There's a examination phase and then the post-examination phase. Now, the post-examination phase is something that I think we have not really focused on a lot. But like he said, you know, there is no part of that cycle that you ignore that doesn't cause some peril or some danger to the patient. Now, what's the post-examination phase about? The post-examination phase is about results is ready, all right? You've gone through your QC, everything, all that, you checked all, ready to go out. In fact, the result then goes out. How is that result incorporated in the case? Because you can get all the, you can run, let me just, you can run glucose in a 5-star, not even 5-star, and if the doctor makes a wrong decision for the patient, all the benefit of quality is lost.
Of course.
All right? So post-post segmentation is about focusing on the integration of that result in the care of the patient. Now, what does the lab have to do with that? It has to do with that. There's a way to also package our results. Okay, so it's not every test that is like you look at the reference range and then say, well, normal or abnormal. All right? There's some results that need to be presented in a different format so that the doctor can understand how to use it appropriately. So that is beyond just accreditation now. It's about integrating the results into the patient. It's about how we package our results, how we interact with our clinicians to ensure that the quality we are actually benefits the patient at the end of the day.
Yeah, thank you. Friday, you want to say?
Okay, just to add, in most places, I think a system should also be in place to ensure that the persons who enter the result or carry out the test is the person signing off the result. That's to ensure that there is a second check and verification the result goes out. So it is expected that that structure be in place so that there's a second verification before the result finally goes out to the client.
Do you have anything to say, Mr. James?
I think they've addressed two major points here. That's somebody checking the first set stage of review. I think there's also a need to actually review the QC. That's something we sometimes take our eyes off the ball. You can't do QC once in a month and expect the system is stable enough to cater for the results of the day or the week or the month. It's a dangerous practice. Even if you look at good QC principles, at the end of every sheet is even good to close out to be sure that in the course of the day, your instrument has not deviated in its performance. Then that is where you also look at the previous clinical pictures. You have good LI systems that are a previous history. Then you to know, is this result consistent with what you've been having before? If that patient has been a regular patient, like an hospital patient, does he have this critical condition? You can't just jump from normal to that high abnormal. So sometimes lab information management system will also get to track. And there are issues. I love the way it was presented in today's session. There are sometimes you get the result and you don't release the result. You might need to consult those who have pathologists in the system. That is where the benefit of the pathologist comes in, to be able to x-ray and look deep into the system. Does it really make sense? You might need to engage the referring doctor to see if what you are generating will be of help. Finally release, so that you don't have to tell a sorry story.
Yes, I just want to add this to it. So with what they've said so far, apart from the result being reported by the person that ran, also realized. So those three stages, they are very important. If not, there may be danger at the end. So
Thank you, Mr. Benga. Just a case in point, my days in the lab actually, we had the and there's one of the abnormal results that when you get to that point, you don't release it, you wait for a pathologist to verify. And this scientist went ahead to release that report. It was one of the board of directors, I think the chairman then, so she came and started shouting and called Mr. James and said, who released this report? Why did we release this report and all that? We had to start investigating. And so how did this come about? Because there's the process, there's this number, I think it's 120 or get to that level. pen it, wait for a pathologist to look at it, review it, check the history of the patient, then decide if you want to run the sample, like collect the sample again and rerun, or release the report. So we had to take off the verification status of that scientist. She was a senior scientist actually. We took it off first, that you're not allowed to release any result until we decide. Then had to check, recollect that sample, run it again, at least, and also beg the customer, the patient, I mean, because the patient was already angry because we delayed releasing and said, okay, don't use another one. First process, it was a thing because we took our time to look at all QC of the day, EQA, everything, just to solve that problem. And to add to what the panelists have said, to also ensure of your results, you should have that proficiency testing running, because it tells you that you are doing well to every other person in the world and globally. Yeah. So I'll push this to both Mr. James and Dr. Kuti. As a member of an organization committed to attaining the highest quality standard, management of human capital is essential to the effective and smooth operation through the requirement for outsourcing, training, and managing the best human capital to enable them effectively contribute their quota towards the continued growth, improvement, and success of the organization. Do you understand the question?
Okay. I think the presentations today have already highlighted the importance of laboratory as an integral unit of the hospital system, or giving a result to a doctor, where it's interfaced with different disciplines. Like the representative of the Medical Lab Council that made a presentation. He gets angry when he gets to a place and it's a one-man system. The one doing everything, directing everything. So sometimes you might need to depend and draw up your requirements according to the standard. Then whoever they find or whoever they deem that should fit into that position will be imposed on you, and you're going to run into problems. So it needs to be made clear from the onset. Number one, you must have a document that shows the qualifications of the people you want to employ into every position. There should be a document that states, for in the lab, we need so and so qualification, which by training has attained the certificate, has gotten relevant exposure, trainings, and skills from those tasks. Then the next step after engaging the fellow, then there must be sort of orientation. We're talking about bringing the person to go around and see what his work is, what is the work required. There should be some sort of enlightening the person on what the quality management system of that facility is all about. The person may be coming from another experienced facility, but if you want to speak the same language, having the same consistency, then there must be a formal module of training that brings everybody to the same stage. That's why he talked about an example of you'll be sent to an institution for about this period of time for you to be able to speak on their core. You need that in your organization. Yes, not every organization can afford a 3 months training period, but you must structure it out. If it's going to be a week of intense induction, then make sure you maximize that period before you begin to assign the person to bench mentoring. If you can afford or accommodate the 1 month, I think up a structure where the fellow can be taken through safety, ethics, let the person be conversant. Then you begin to draw up, how do I get to measure the competence of this fellow? The standard mentions ways of assessing competence. Sometimes it's not the big things, they are the little things. You can just be at the back, just observe the fellow, perform certain procedure and you know whether the person is compliant. Do a retrospective audit, check back and look at the end result that fellow is generating over a period of time. You know whether that person is performing well. But it all talks about supervision. Somebody needs to be supervised. You don't just dump somebody on the bench. I've given him or her the SOP, he should start running. Don't expect. We know what our academic system in the nation is now. You can't just hand over that to somebody without. So you as the manager or the supervisor to ensure that you really put an eye on this job, that the fellow is able to perform the task well without supervision before you grant the person certain level of authority or access. That measures the competence. Then there must be a sort of appraiser system. You go back after the person is not just competent once and now declared competence for the rest of his life. That is why there are needs for training and retraining where gaps are found. Where non-conformances peaked, you need to go back and look where this fault comes from. How do we shove off the quality management so that there will be no loophole? So for appraiser, the person may be doing well for the past 2 years and something might just have gone wrong in that person's personal life emotionally, and just see a person begin to make errors that he or she never made in time past. So constant appraiser. Then there will also or CPD. Don't just look at they have all been trained. Sometimes pick up a topic, throw it online, maybe conferences are things that actually build people's understanding. As I sat there jotting that because I was seeing different perspectives. Nobody knows it all. And just know that once you're in this, it's a collaborative function for every unit.
Okay. Dr. Kuti, do you have anything to say?
Well, what else would I add?
Yeah, sorry, though.
So, just a few points. One, orientation is different from, all right, two different things, two different focus. So, orientation into the culture that's fairly that everybody comes to organization will need to have. Training is about ensuring that has the skills to perform the task employed in to do in your organization. So for every role in the organization, it's important that we identify what are the skills that this person needs to have in this role, because we clearly spelled out. And competency is about ensuring that the person then has the skills to function at the level that we desire. Of course, the issue of then assessing competency periodically is important because, like I said, one's competence is not always competence. It's about somebody comes from you could have been Ruchi, for example, you could have been using an Abbott machine where you're working from. You use a Roche machine. The training you need to be super specialist on the Abbott, but then you're a novice on the Roche, you know. So that's what training is about. And then the skills, the exact tasks you are being required to perform in that organization, the skills to use them must be, will be sure that you have those skills. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kotsi. Yeah, this is to ask everyone actually, so I just want to just hear your own points and opinions. We are all aware of all the issues of quality control in our laboratories, and the fact that results from different labs on the same specimen would show very divergent. So we understand that when you send a particular sample to one lab, you see a different result. Then you send the same sample to another, you see another result. So how can we bridge this gap? I know we've been preaching this morning, but let us preach it again. So how can we bridge this gap? That everybody here in all the labs should have similar results. You want to start, Frankie? Or Mr. Binga?
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
So first of all, do we do EQA?
Okay.
So we need to check that. If we are doing EQA, the other laboratory too, I didn't do EQA. So what's the report of the EQA from this laboratory and this other laboratory? Are we undergoing the same EQA? Because at times, internal control alone, our internal quality control samples alone, we can have bias. By the time we subject it to EK, that's when we'll know whether we are really generating good results. It will not be that, after all, I'm using covers, roach, and the control from roach also is always passing. I might not need to, and we will just base our result only on that. No, let's practice that also. By the time we practice that external quality assurance program, do we practice it? If you cannot do that of international, MLSCN is organizing one, so we put in for that. From there, we can really assess ourselves, our result that is coming from. So we'll be so sure that, okay, this other laboratory too, if they are really passing their EK or PT and other. So with that, we can really bridge the gap of having that the different results from different labs.
Friday.
Let me see before my other comes.
Friday. Now hold this one. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to come from the point of reliability of lab test result. Reliability stems from two parameters, I will so say: accuracy and precision. Your EQA provides you the accuracy check. It tells you how well or how close you are to the targeted value, while your day-to-day control actually measures the ability to repeatedly give the same result. So you could be having good precision and out of accuracy. That is why you need to complement the two. Every analytical system, if you draw a graph of precision to one on the x-axis, you will see that there is possibility: low precision, low accuracy; precision, high accuracy; high accuracy, low precision; accuracy, high precision. Every lab should strive to be in the upper outer quadrant, but because of reagent stability, power issue, personnel, stability of the instrument, the analytical system deviates from one quadrant to the other, not because you want to, and that is why you need to have a good understanding. The one other thing which most of the time we take our eyes off, that result in variation in test results between laboratories, the aspect of validation. How fit for purpose is that instrument? We just buy an equipment and we believe that all of them will generate the same result to meet every equipment doesn't have the same reference for each instrument, and for each instrument it tells you the range, the measuring range. Some are narrower, and it tells you what are the acceptable normal result for certain population. And you take note, in Nigeria we're still struggling to get our national reference range published. We're still using that of the Caucasian. So whatever they gave us as their normal range is what we are still using in most of our system. So don't expect results sent to 10 different labs to all be the same thing. There need to be unification from that standpoint of view before you begin to drill down in your accuracy check and precision checks. With that, I think we'll be able to eliminate the huge variations in our systems.
Friday.
All right. So,
okay. Thank you very much. There's a whole lot, just like they've said, there's a whole lot to quality control, and your QC may be fine, but you are not fine. You need to do a review of QC. You have your assigned mean, and then you have your ±1 SD ±, and some places may accept ±3 SD. There's a need for you to review your LJ graph. By default, you should plot your LJ graph regularly as you run your control. So you do a review of your LJ graph. Some persons may be running on a bias, maybe on a negative bias. The QC is fine, but you're on a negative bias. You review your LJ graph to look out for trend, shift, and bias. Now, your analyzer or the reagent onboard stability might have expired, and there's a downward trend or an upward trend. How will you be able to detect that? You can only do that when you are able to review your LJ graph using the Westgard rules. Some analyzers, thank God, some analyzers have that built in their system, and you can also set that up to in your some analyzers. So that will also help you to do your internal quality check. And then we have inter-laboratory and intra-laboratory. Maybe you have a sister lab, you can do a split sample to the other lab and compare and see how how you are. Then you can also do mean comparison of your QC, maybe last week or last month compared to this week. So there's a whole lot to quality check, and by the time you do all of that, you discover that the result you are giving out will be consistently valid. Then, with regards to variation of results from different labs, another thing we need to look at is the reference range with regards to the instruments they are using. For example, the T4 range may be higher compared to maybe Beckman-Coulter and S2. So depending on what analyzer is being used, the reference ranges could vary. Thank you very much.
Should we just use this one?
This is a very common question that, or a common issue, right? We constantly have to deal with in the labs. Someone does a test in one lab, and then gets it, and then they're up in arms, they want to fight, you say, give me a bad report. But I think we can put in two perspectives. You can have qualitative results and you have quantitative results. So qualitative results are the ones that say yes or no, and the ones that give you a particular. So for the qualitative results, what you notice is that some of the systems are put in place from the managing patient point of view is the fact that you get a qualitative result that says, let's say for example HIV now. You don't treat somebody with a HIV test result. You know that system, the reality is that every measurement system has an error. I mean, whether be it in Mars or Jupiter or Earth, every measurement system has an error. They will say determined is 99%, 99.99% sensitive. That means there's still that margin of error. All right. So, and it may be just the patient that comes to see you that always has that. So it's need to understand that when you're dealing with the qualitative results, because of that margin of error, you usually will require that before you commence treatment or before you take an action on a qualitative result, you may want to use some other. So, for example, again, to give an example, they determine positive. Before you decide that this person is HIV positive, you should do a Unigold. And that HCV, if somebody has HCV reactive, before you start to another. So, qualitative results kind of protection because of errors that could arise. So, I say that because there's a patient that there was a legal document I got recently about this kind of thing. We went to lab A, negative. You guys gave us the wrong result. We had to explain that, look, that's just the way things are. For quantitative results, just like it's been said, there's the issue of bias. The instrument has a bias. I mean, a bias is fairly constant. So an instrument A has a positive bias, is always, that means it naturally reports a value higher than the true value. It has a negative, constantly reports lower than the true result. So take for example, let me give an example of hemoglobin A1C. Hemoglobin A1C diagnosed diabetes to multiple diabetes people. So you have a system that has a bias of 0.5%, small, all right, really clinically insignificant. You can do it, live with that. But instrument A has a positive bias of 0. Instrument B has a bias of negative 0.5. So you run in lab A today, you get 6. You run the true value is 6.5. 5. You run in lab A today, you get 6. You run in lab B, you get 7. That's it. The 1% difference. It becomes significant. So it's not about any of the labs being bad. It's just because the intrinsic bias of those labs is on the two sides of the true value. So, all right, stick to one lab that uses one instrument. Don't move. Don't say I did PCB this place today, I got 10. I did that place to get 13. Oh, the PCB is increasing. There may be no difference, all right? Or the other person, I got 13 here, I got here, oh, let me go and transfuse. There may be no difference. So it's about once you want to manage a patient, stick to one lab and use those labs for consecutive measurements so you're not treating differences in laboratories on the patients. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Just to add to what he said, and that is why validation of the instrument is very important. When you purchase an instrument, you need to validate that instrument to ensure that it's going to give you the right result. So when issues of biases come out, you'll be able to accept that result based on your validation. Do you understand? Yeah, so moving forward. And also lead us to documentation, because tomorrow when you're fighting that this result, I got 7 here and I got 13 here, you have a documentation to back it up that we've done our analysis, we've done our validation. Do you understand? So this is why we are accepting these results in conjunction with the EQAs and the QCs and every other activities that goes on in the lab. Yeah. So this is to Mr. Gbenga. Then I want to add, controlling of documents and records is an area which we consistently find to be difficult to achieve, especially areas where we find different versions of the same document being used by different members of our teams or organization. Individuals or teams struggle to trace or find documents and templates to use or record of results. Help us get into how documents and record can be more efficient in the laboratory.
Thank you. So when we are talking about documents and records in the laboratory, first of all, the documents should, how do we generate your documents? So the documents that are generated, you control them. In controlling them, that means you assign them to each unit. They have the control number, they are paginated, you issue it to the department or the unit that is needed to be issued it to. The one that is fled should not be the same document should not be in the laboratory. So not that's supposed to be in chemical pathology unit, you should not find it in unit. That one can only be done right from when you are controlling your document. So if the documents are not well controlled, that's when you have this issue that we are talking about here. That so you find it so cumbersome that you are now running a task to find document. Okay, this one should be here. This one I'm looking for. The one to your logs. Sample log should not be in the lab. So what sample log do in the laboratory? So are you collecting sample in the lab? So it should be in the flare. So when they are well controlled, when they are well numbered, so you right from you will have known that okay, this document, this is where it belongs. This document, this is where it belongs. So there will be no problem when you do that. But when you are not orderly, or when you don't control your document, that's why you find it flying all around. And the other time when the director from LSA was talking, he said, if you don't need a particular document, it should not be found. Remove it. So you are no longer, if you have revised them, if you have reviewed, so remove them from shelf, archive them. About a problem in getting one document that is meant for a particular department or the other. So in that regard, control document is the key. Anyway, about it. This is the place it should be. This one, this where it should be. This one should not be here. So you do that right. That's the quality we are talking about. So if the document is not well arranged, there's that one is error.
The aspect of control, it looks like one small ISO standard, but it's another very sensitive and critical part. That even in various audits, I've seen that it has been a major source of non-conformities in time past. As the MSCN director stated, the world is going electronic. The more electronic your system, the less issues you would likely have. If you are still dealing with papers and papers, it's difficult to deal with people. You send email, you move like it announced in the lab, please remove all this obsolete version. Have you heard me? Everybody say, I've heard you. You go into the drawers, you see revision 4 when you are dealing with revision. It's difficult dealing with humans. So the best thing is to have things electronic. You need to have a shared driver server. Just get an IT person. They will be able to create a SharePoint where your documents are uploaded. And once it's uploaded, not more than one person, and possibly as a backup, a second person who is like an assistant, have control of uploading. I've seen systems where, because individuals have SOP on their system or have SOP in their email, when an auditor come and a question is asked, they'll quickly go there, edit it. It's a very wrong practice. That means you are shady. You have double standards. You will always run into different versions. How can you say you have revision 1 and I'm seeing revision 1 in 7 different formats with 7 different employees? You must have a central system where possibly it's PDF'd or only one person have access right to edit and to upload. The others can only read and print. And the moment you are taking in obsolete version of the system, it's archived somewhere, maybe server where no one have access to. There are certain things on my own that are on my own folder, and if I don't check it in, you won't see it. That's how we've designed it in my system. So until I check it in, you don't have access to it. So by that, we have precluded individuals who are not supposed to have access to obsolete version from seeing it. If not, 2 people will be using different standards. It's all about IT. You just have to integrate and embrace IT if you want to make it. Yes, there's this the aspect of a spot check. Even though you still have IT controls, some people will still, I don't want the system to fail me, so I have 100 copies and keep in my drawer. Especially the flaps, the technicians. And you get there, you find that a new version of a template, and there's still this old version, still because people just want the easy way life out of things. You need to not lose personal touch of what you are inspecting. I think with that, you'll be able to control. It may not be, but I can assure you, it will give you a lot more leverage than just running a papered style system.
So, just to buttress some of the points. So, the concept of document control is about ensuring that only the most current documents are available for use in any place where you dare to use it. And that's important because imagine, the reason why you would change a document is because you noted a deficiency. So you noted a deficiency, updated the document, a gap. If somebody is now using the previous document, that means the organization or the activity is still liable to fall into that trap. That's why document control is important, because it enables you to make changes and ensure that those changes then are applicable and protect you from any mistake that you identified. So ensuring that gaps that have been identified are permanently closed to all staff. Thank you.
Basically, to say technology, most of the has to cumbersome document how to find what and where to find what. So once you for your documents, e-copies, grant access to specific people, and it should be the QA department should take charge of that, and then there's also necessary check that must be done. The appraisal cost, you must check physically to be able to deal with obsolete documents.
Thank you very much, panelists. We also need to, if you have, just pen it down so we can ask our questions also. And this will be the last question, and it's going to Mr. Benga. I know your lab recently got accredited, right? What was it? Yeah.
To us, before now we were quality inclined, but ever since we on board, it's a new phase actually. It's because most of the time we force management or to do, they know their responsibility, they know what to do without us forcing that. And before now, it was QMS that made us to know that we need to be doing management review. So with that, so for us to know that staff suggestion is very important. So it is us to know that back from the customers is very, very important. So not that we just be running things, and so the feedback from them also is very, very important. So, and it has made us to improve on so many things. Yeah, it has really helped us to improve on so many things. And
what about maintenances and all those laboratory practices?
Yes, the of the QB, that one we were doing that. You know, I made mention of that. That we even before we venture into accreditation, ISN has really helped us a lot in that aspect. The technical training, we used to have training often and often. You know, certificate. We never knew that certificate they be used to eventually when they so when the auditors, when they came and they were requesting for it, you know, it was so easy for us. So the things that the management, they didn't even bother to ask us in our files. So they requested for those things and we easily gave it to them that we have this, we have this. So from us now, and you know, one thing about management and the employees is just that they always play this game, they play game. So they always want to do that. But in this case now, they don't have anything to blame us about. So everything, some of the things, they are from their side, but from our own side. So we were good to go. So, and everything has been wonderful ever since. And yes, but they now saw the reason for training, continual assessment. Yes, they now see reasons for that. Now, if you for them, somebody like me, being the laboratory manager at times, they one reason to leave the premises. But now they now see things for that and for other people to continue, and it has been wonderful.
Okay, thank you. Then on the closing, and a round of applause for me, please. Thank you. Yeah, on the closing note, what is that one practical piece of advice you give the lab looking to becoming ISO accredited? So the floor is yours.
Okay. I also took pain to look at the ISO standard about accreditation. You see, many a times we sometimes lose focus of the main thing. If you look at one of the clauses, one of the elements under the introductory note, it said this standard needs to be employed to ensure that you are complying with the acceptable international standards. Not because you want to get an accreditation. Yes, when you have the accreditation, it's a confirmation that you have made and you have been legally given that license. However, You may say your organization is not ready for accreditation now. Please, get the copy of the standard, whether the international or the Nigerianized one, and begin to put certain things in place. It's for your development as a scientist. It begins to open your scope to what's obtainable outside. And for those who will have opportunity of, as we always say, jackpotting, when you find yourself there, you find that these are the basic requirements there. It's the startup. It's not something out of the blues. We see accreditation as something special. It's a. So when you find yourself, don't be lost altogether. There's an opportunity you have to develop. Nigerians, I tell you, we are not dull. If you have opportunity to attend conferences, trainings, you find that we have the knowledge. But God will help this for us to succeed so that things will be right in this nation. Thank you.
Well, so I would say that, one has to look at quality from, at least particularly in the healthcare sector, as a desire of service that satisfies the needs of our users. So someone interested in quality, you're saying that I am interested in providing a level of service that meets the expectations of the people that use my service. So if you are interested in your consumer, if you're interested in your customer, if you're interested in your patients, if you're interested in your doctors getting a level of service that constantly and consistently satisfies them, meets the expectations, then QMS is the way for you. So it's about being customer focused on the user of the laboratory to ensure that his expectations are met and delivered by the laboratory. Thank
you. Just to add to what has been said, transfer of knowledge, I want to plead with all my colleagues, medical lab scientists in the house. You go to some facilities, you find out that there's just this one person that knows everything. You achieve this quality management system.
Yes, to add to what they've said so far, QMS is, I would say, is openness. There's no secrecy when it comes to QMS. Yes.
If anything, QMS will expose it. So if you know that you are not hiding anything, do QMS.
Sorry, you guys wowed us that I said, let me take Mike and thank you for done. Presentation, your speeches, you show that you are actually the technical hands. The technical hands. When some of us that know so much about theory speak, you know the difference. You've shown you on the bench. All the conversation, I just need to remind all of you that because you're coming from that technical part, as one big piece that you always forget, and the last speaker tried to finger it, and that piece is the fact that there is this assumption, this is the way we do it, I know it, I'll do that. These things must be measured with policies and procedure, just in case. Everything you talked about, document control, no matter how fact you have it, and there is no policy and procedure lying somewhere. Angela, you're not there. That is lost. These, all the fine things we've discussed and shared with each other. If you think your lab do not have, then you don't have it. So I just needed to remind you that part. And then Another one that you need to know about, and I think people think is a joke, 2025, if you have a lab and you're not accredited, if government is serious about their policy, you're supposed to shut down. Look for national quality policy and read. It's approved by Federal Executive Council and it's being implemented. Your minister has a seat on that implementation. That's all I needed to communicate.
A resounding round of applause for all our panelists. Okay, so it's time for questions and answers. Okay, I expect that some people would have questions. If you have your questions, ushers will go around to pick questions. But if you know that you want to take your question direct, we have our panelists, we have our speakers. So if you have any questions, you can either pass it to the speakers or microphone. I'm sure that there should be a lot of questions because there's been position and knowledge that have been shared here. I expect a lot of questions coming. Question. Wow.
Sorry, please, before you answer their own question, and it's to TG and to MLSCN too. I want, especially MLSCN, I want to ask, can the friendly discussion between MLSCN and NAFDAC, can it be resolved? I don't know, but because you can. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that question. Yes, it can be resolved. And that's why I said it's not a conflict. Ministry of Health, that friendly conversation can be resolved. I bet you it will be resolved. Like as I said, that document, that gazette, that official gazette on IVD regulation in Nigeria is very big. If you read that gazette, MLSN is the sole authority for IVDs in Nigeria. But in this nation, you don't rely so much on, I won't say we don't rely so much on our laws system. So we still need a political solution. We still need a political solution. And that's why that question. Yeah. Because since last year, this conversation is result to make that direct policy statement. Say, let A do A and let B do B. As if all is well. There's what we call the trade hub. In that trade hub, MLS is supposed to be in that hub, where you find SON, you find NAFDAC, you find CBN. That is the issue. We need a trade hub, and we may also need to be at the ports of entry. These are we have done all the trainings. The customs is also part of this trade hub. They have come to MLSC, even hosted a mast. Done since over 2 years, the conversation, even CBN have given the nod that you see the political solution. I love the fact that the press, they are here. They're expanding the conversation. Very soon, the stakeholders will start asking questions. Because at the heart of this conversation, we will be making double payments. NAFDAC will demand for registration. MLSC and statutory will demand for their registration. The importance. So, and that's why, as a matter of urgency, we need to resolve this because people are losing revenue. So I said a friendly conversation, and I emphasize a friendly conversation, because it should not be seen as quarreling. It's like you and your brother, the same father, the same mother. Why should they be quarreling? Quarrel. It is friendly conversation. We will find a way around it and for a political solution. And it will happen very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's so fast. Question is, you mentioned different equipment have different reference ranges. You know yourself. You mentioned it. You mentioned that different equipment have different reference ranges, and that is where bias would come in. But is there no acceptable limit to the differences? I mean, ideally, the difference in the ranges is not supposed to change. That's the question. Mike.
Let's respond to that, and I will allow you to put in. I have been trained using particularly one quota. So when we began to venture under each other equipment, and I found myself in a new place and there were more equipment, that's where I began to see that the reference interval given by the manufacturer of instrument differ. That's why we understand that they really differ. Now, it shouldn't play a major part if we have a national reference range for individuals. But as it is, I don't think one has gone live in Nigeria. It's at the discretions of the doctors, the pathologists, maybe data they have had over the time, or what they have adopted from somewhere, or some experiments that were done in much smaller scale, but not up to the reference range. This is what is acceptable in our system. If you check some instruments, some analyze some parameters, you find that some of them, it tells you that it's normal from 14 to 50. You check online instruments that is normal from 7 to 20. And that's why it's not really good to have two variant instruments. Result that you may just be shooting. As the doctor advised, it's better the patient or the referring doctor sticks to one particular lab so that you know you are having issue monitoring, comparing rather than different. But Dr. Kuti to pay me out in that regard.
So I think we should also, so when you talk about analyzing the lab, there are different kinds of analysis. We have things that are built. Analyze in the lab. So you have something like creatinine, for example. Creatinine is a fairly simple molecule, all right? You can develop the uric acid or your some enzyme like PSA, for example, a protein. A protein is a much more, all right? And if you develop, detect that protein, now the kind of antibody I'm going to use in my immuno assay system is going to be different from the kind of antibody is going to use in his own system. My antibody may detect the head of PSA. His antibody may detect the knee of PSA. We have two knees, we have one head. So in that regard, our ability to identify PSA in a particular sample will differ. So that's why our reference range would have small differences, just because our detection methods are different. Now, what people have tried to do, try to then standardize, get a particular preparation and send to all laboratories and say, this particular preparation is 1 milligram per DL PSA,
everybody, your measure that like that. But for proteins, it's difficult to develop because you might even find that in there's complex, there's a free PSA, variations in kind of PSA system. So in that, it's really tough to say all instruments will have same reference intervals. But for some other like creatinine, like hemoglobin ones, things are fairly more structured. Standardization was easier to achieve. Those ones, the reference across board will be the same. For sodium, for potassium, it will be the same. Most very, very close if there's any difference at all. But for things like proteins, it's a bit more tricky to have different, let's have the same because our methodology of detection is really just different from the manufacturer.
Okay, just to add to it, with regards to that variable, the higher recovery rate, we may not have as much. Even in the program, the instrument comparison and the method comparison. So dependent on the method that was used for analysis for that particular test, and then the instrument that was used as well for that test, you can come up. That's why it's always good. For instance, if I have two instruments that is running the same test for my organization, if I am reporting from instrument A, I should capture the reference range of instrument A. And if I am reporting, I should capture the reference range from instrument B. That way, if you get your result, if 9.0 for free T4 in Cobas is saying low, and Beckman-Coulter SS2 is telling me it is normal, if I give you a result from Beckman-Coulter, I should tell you that this is the range for Beckman-Coulter, so that you don't have a false alarming that, oh, the last one using Cobas or using so instrument, this particular value was low, and now I'm having this for this instrument and you are telling me it is. That way, until we are able to standardize our reference rate, just like he has said, that difference needs to be specified to help the clinic understand that is being given. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. I believe the person that asked the question could answer. I did an inter-laboratory comparison for with two different I-89. The accredited labs, the result, the gaps were so much, but our results talked with one of the lab, tallied with one of the labs. What should be the next step? Should I take it?
So when comparing results, labs, different labs, factors that need to you need to consider. Number one, the integrity. The same sample you ran, integrity before it got to the other lab. Is it the same? Then analyte stability. If you recast, for example, recast EQA for full blood count, you will discover that it doesn't cover differentials. Why? Because it's not stable, and then the difference, stability of differentials is not as stable. So again, sample transportation. So there are a whole lot of factors that could account for that difference. So before you say a significant difference, that's why the whole process of sample processing needs to be taken care of from the pre-analytical to the post-analytical. Sample should be transported in the right temperature, the right sample container, and all of that. So actually everything is kept constant, and all parameters, quality checks are being done, there shouldn't be that variation.
I think it's important to also define what constitutes a significant difference in the two results from the two labs. So because there are two labs, they will give different results. All right? It's a function of what is the difference, significantly different, such that you are making a decision result from this lab. So that the difference in the two results, is it really clinical significant? Expect differences anyway.
To how to the set in the three laboratories, are they using the same equipment? That's another thing we need to also consider, because if we compare with people that are using the same equipment, with people that are using the same course, so those are considered before they compare your result and put it out for you. So if we want to stick to one, see to it whether you are using the same equipment. So before you just justify.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, in order not to waste time, if a question is not directed to any speaker, the two responses. But this is Donald. Why is the e-license taking so long? Some people have uploaded their documents since March and have not gotten any response.
Thank you so much for that question. I know I've been expecting that question since. The government really acquired a state-of-the-art equipment for rolling out licenses. It's like this state-of-the-art equipment can actually roll in a day, unlike before when we do something manually. So I will tell you, yes, pass through the rigors of doing that now. From next, once you have uploaded, in fact by February, you get it. Physically roll out your life because we have your data. Like I said earlier, we need to migrate from this thing to ICT. That is exactly what is happening now. A lot of people have this information, but you see them moving from Kaduna to Council, from Lagos, just to upload. You know, I didn't have to do that this year. January this year, I just because already my data is there, saved. Am I communicating? So it's important that we all do this now. But people, I don't know, because of ICT, they are not able to upload. Once you do that, it doesn't take 2 weeks to get your license wherever you are. So be there with us, but do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we have another question from the audience.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lamia. I'm a medical lab scientist from Outreach Hospital Group. I want to appreciate the organizer of the program, as well as thank the speakers and the presenters. So my question is simple. Over the time, we've been doing quality control, QC. So I really want to know the difference between quality assurance and quality control. Thank you. With illustrations, if possible.
Who is going for this?
The with illustration is with emphasis. It's also good to have an understanding of what quality concept means. Talk about quality control, you're actually talking of a material that you use to validate an analytical process. A quality control is a physical substance, something you can relate, that gives you a degree of assurance that whatever I'm passing through the analytical system, the outcome is reliable. For instance, I put a weighing scale here and I say weighing scale, and you step on it and show 105 kg. You will not believe the outcome because you have an expectation. You are comparing the result you are seeing with a known value you think or which you are sure. So is a substance with a known value which you are going through the system to validate that that system is in the right analytical mode of, stage to generate an accurate result. For the fact that an instrument generates a result doesn't mean that it's correct. Even if you run ordinary water through the machine, I'm sure it will not give you 0. True is that result. That's why you need a control material.
Let me try to help. Okay. From the way I understand. From the word quality control. Before so you're running quality control, just like it's been said, it's not a result that is released. So control is something that you do to determine whether the result should be at all. So like I said, you're measuring a quality control specimen, you check the value. If you don't like the value, the results don't go out. You control it. All right? Quality assurance is about things you do to assure yourself that the result will be good. So it goes beyond the analytical phase now. It goes to things you do in the pre-analytical phase, in the post-analytical phase, to assure that what things I'm doing give me a good result at the end of the day. So it's not like you don't take a decision at the level of quality assurance. Quality control is what stops it from going. Quality assurance are general things you do. You write your SOP, your staff, and all that. Those are things you do to assure yourself that your processes deliver a good result. I hope I'm clear.
2 responses. Okay, we have another question.
Good. Mine is not really. I am Okanla Onsho Olaika by name, and I'm in council in terms of observing the program. I'm greeting my boss here, and with his permission, I'm going to just add a little thing to answers from the 2 questions. Then I want to take time to appreciate the panelists. Question as to what quality management system is. And with me here, I said some things which I'm seriously going to take back to the system at MLSA. Appreciate you, the panelists. My addition is this: on the first 2 questions of having 2 different equipments with different reference ranges, what is the way forward? And as well as running a single test at FBC, 3 different laboratories with 3 different results. On the first one, yes, our panelists have described us one very correct and very true to avoid this type of disparities. But during the course of audit will tell us that audit will ask us if we have alternative system, should in case backup system, should in case our primary system fails. And as a 2 points to that question. So what I'm basically saying is audit the way forward. You run a single test on these 2 points. The results generated, you subject it to statistical analysis. You have the as correlation studies. If the test is a statistical coefficient of variation is between 10 and 30, though between 20 and 30 somewhat discouraged for some people. For some auditors, they will discourage you from 30%. But if you have between 10 and 20% of CV, what this means is use either of the system. If the first one fails, it can be used. If you have something of this nature to show, if your system after CV is showing some 30, that's a very bad correlation. It means you cannot use that system. But if it's 10 to 30, 29, you can use it. It's a very good one. Another thing is to do correlation studies on the results. If you do correlation studies, we have either negative or positive correlation of close to 1, that is -1 or if the two of them shows negative correlations, you do a scatter plot, a graph, and you say that you have a straight line correlation, whether negative or positive. What it means is that you can still use the stool system. So you may just have a correlation of about 0.5, either negative or positive. What this means is that if you have correlation of 0.5, equipment is a particular value. It means for you to use the second equipment, you will add 0.5 result generated second equipment in your exact value system. This is the advantage of the statistical packages. The test of different full block counts. Full block counts, I believe, are in percentage. That's quantitative. So if you subject this you have to correlation studies, you have either negative or positive correlations of maybe +1, -1. Range. It's what I'm just trying to add. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'll just take 2 more questions, only one response. How can a laboratory that has very low patient turnout, like average of 5 a week or 1 EUCR a week, establish a good QC system, considering the cost of control has to run about 2 to 3? Who's going for this? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. You can adapt to suit your setting. Yes. And provided you don't go against outside what is of the standard. I remember back then when we were in school doing our posting in the department. In the study, we go around and drop sample in inches. Those are samples that have been run before. Only he knows the value of those samples. So you drop it for the scientists to work on. And then at the end, the samples are labeled as normal sample. And then at the end, he receives the result. And the result. That's an internal quality control. He didn't have to go and buy QC material somewhere to use for that purpose. In your own setting as well. So in some of the analysis, we have 3 levels of quality control. We have low, 1, 2, and 3. So if you can't, maybe in your own facility, you are buoyant enough to use 3. You can go ahead and use the 3. Or you can adapt it because you can do your cost analysis and say, okay, let me use 1 and 3 for my own facilities for this period of time. And then maybe you want to, in fact, this ISO we are saying has the minimum standard. So you can decide in my facility, instead of running QC twice a day, I'm a 24-hour laboratory. Instead of running QC twice a day, I want to run, in fact, for every run I'm running alongside QC. So you can adapt it to suit the environment, depending on the amount you have, in line with the that are available. Thank you very much. I think I've been able to.
Thank you so much. Last question, I'll be able to accommodate. It is clear that Nigeria doesn't produce equipment or reagents. How can MLSN help companies like ISN who import these life-saving products reduce cost to save patient lives and provide affordable health care? Coming in.
Let me attempt to answer. You know, that is the big thing about this conversation. Government is also hearing. There is something about waivers. You can have import waivers for some very sensitive COVID, where we needed to bring in equipment from overseas because it's a national emergency. It will not happen at MLSN level. It will happen maybe at the Federal Executive Council. Expanding this, it will get
so much. A round of applause. A sounding applause for everybody. Thank you so much. Okay, at this point in time, we are going to be having the closing remarks, and I'll be calling on our strategic manager, Chinelo. Oh, sorry. Panelist, I'm sorry. You can go back to your seat. Thank you. Let's appreciate them. Okay, so I was introducing our own strategic manager to come up stage. A round of applause for her.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for taking out the time, a busy schedule, to be here for this summit. We really appreciate you. Learnings from that the next time we hold this summit, we'll be celebrating accomplishments that were birthed from learnings at this summit. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, healthcare professionals, we have come to the end of this summit. I wish you a weekend, and I'd like to tell you that there's item 7 waiting for you outside. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, a reminder. So I'm sure you or most of you should have received a pre-test link.